Holly Michael, editor and publisher of the Twin Creek Times, and this is our preview for March 18. And I want to start with some outreach that I've received from some very interested and engaging readers, and in one case, video watchers. And I want to share what they've contributed based on some previous coverage that we've had in the Twin Creek Times. So I'm going to read this great message I got from Tom Tiller about the bridge that was on Lower Gratis Road in Farmersville and now is at Carillon Park. So Tom writes, I appreciate your piece about the Morrison Bridge. I had the opportunity to visit the deconstruction site a couple of times and see the job up close. The resident inspector had a trailer to work out of, and he let me look over the set of prints for both the bridge and the engineered structure used to move the bridge off the creek bed and onto the roadway for disassembly. After stripping the deck, they raised the bare frame up and rolled it on I-beam tracks up the road and lashed it to trees on the east side of the road for stability while taking it apart. The Whipple truss designed used minimal materials, so the structure was light enough to move as a whole on rollers, and the connecting joints of the individual pieces were held by removable pins threaded on one end for a securing nut. I was at the trailer one day when one of the iron workers came to ask the inspector for permission to split a nut that was frozen in place and wouldn't yield to all their efforts to unscrew. The inspector allowed it, but only with the instructions that they had to brace the nut back in form and keep it with the matching pin to be reassembled at Carillon Park in the original position. So very interesting story from Tom, and also, the commitment that they had to keeping this bridge as consistent as possible with all of its parts. So we appreciate Tom for sharing that. And then another very astute watcher of my video from the Germantown Dam. First of all, I said, I think I didn't say Miami Conservancy District in my video. That was one issue. But the other one that was even bigger was, as I was pointing at bodies of water on either side of the dam, I called both of them the spillway, when actually neither of them were the spillway. The area of the dam where the water was coming through is actually the conduit, and that's where significant repair actually took place at the dam last fall. And that's, served us well already. And then the water behind the dam is really a storage basin area for the dam. And so then the spillway is actually a different third spot where water, if the water ever got so high that you were concerned that the water was going to go over the dam, that could never happen because there's this spillway, which is where the water can sort of flow around the dam if it needs to. And that's a third area. There's a little bridge after you cross the dam, if you're going away from Germantown, and it's a mode area that you can look down on, and that's where the water would go in case of an extraordinary amount of water. So they've planned a lot of contingency into the dam. So anyway, other areas were not the spillway, that is. And so when we look at the dam in the future, we'll try to get our terminology correct. And I'm glad that we had some really astute watchers who pointed that out in a very nice and helpful way. So let's get to this week's coverage. I'll just run down kind of quick. The big story continues to be the demolition of the Farmersville School. I have a ton of pictures and a great video, so be sure to check that out. And along with that, there's been a lot of talk in the community about why is there so much stuff in the building? Why didn't we do something with the gym? And so I've got some comments from the superintendent in the story to answer some of those questions. And then I was really excited to realize that we've been doing this for 10 weeks now. So a shout out to everyone who's been here from the start. And so the list this week is actually the top 10 stories as selected by, the readers of Twin Creek Times, which stories they found most compelling and most interesting. And I've got the list there, and I show them on a video, but then also have all the links if you haven't been here for the last 10 weeks and want to catch up. And then we also have a story about a lawsuit. German Township was involved in the lawsuit with SRM, which now operates the the former Weidel business and the gravel pits there, and their planned expansion into some additional farmland off of Butter Street and Eckhart Road. So then finally, I made a fun trip to the Preble County Historical Society, and they have a beautiful facility, and I hope that you will check that out as well and see the pictures from that story. So thanks, and have a great week.